So I'll give you Dave's points here. His Dave Helman, this is Brian's old copy proofreader. And
copywriter.
DallasCowboys.com.
Won me an award.
Then Brian left, and then Dave left, went out to L.A., became a TV star on Fox last
Hollywood Dave.
season. So,
Hollywood Dave.
Salute to Dave, and congrats to him for all of his success. It's been really cool watching him destroy Shady McCoy on a regular basis.
Yeah. He says Shady's a good dude.
Nice.
He does. He likes Shady.
Well, here he's got an article. The Cowboys have a championship window. How long can they keep it open? And I'll give you Dave's points, and then I'll tell you why I'm not sure this organization has opened one for the last 15 years. But here's the content, and it's a really concise way of summarizing the threats to the Cowboys championship window. You guys tell me how long you think they can at least maintain this level of play they've had the last 2 years. Number one, Dak's cap number will balloon to $60 million if they don't do a new deal before then next year. And if they have to let that play out, that would be over a quarter of the cap. And, I don't know if a team's ever had much success when the quarterback is eating up that much of the salary cap space. And, and that would be a huge year for trimming payroll. That's when cap casualties happen. Now, more likely, the Cowboys extend it and keep pushing the money into the future. So maybe that doesn't happen, maybe until 2027 or something. Eventually, that bill comes due. And I think the smart teams find a good year to be like, yeah, let's go ahead and bite that bullet now. I don't know. Maybe 2024 could be that year for the Cowboys. Okay, you're going to have Lamb, Diggs, and Parsons to do contracts with. That's a huge challenge right now for the front office on top of Dak's balloon payment coming. You have to rebuild the offensive line at the same point, something they don't seem too interested in right now. I think they look at quarterbacks in their prime as like they're gonna make everybody around them a little bit better, and we'll build them an offensive line if they start to get old or breaking down, like when they built the offensive line for Tony. So those are your three biggest threats. Like, how much is your offensive line deteriorating? The need to sign young stars amid a Dak contract situation. Which one of those is the biggest threat, and how long do you guys think they can maintain this current level of play or higher?
Man, you keep drafting like this, and you're gonna be in a decent place as long as you have Dak. And I think we know until he starts to just fall off due to whatever age, like he's consistently going to be an above-average starter, really at worst. And so you have an above-average starter with the best drafting team in the sport, and you've got a young core of premium positions, guys like Micah Parsons, guys like Tyler Smith, who's probably going to be your left tackle, at some point here. I think you're at CeeDee Lamb as well. Like, you're in a good position, I think, to be a good team for, as long as they want, really.
Yeah, I think that this is one where they can keep this door kind of pried open. And it is interesting with the offensive line because it's not nearly as good as it was, but they have tried to infuse it with young talent. Like, they drafted Broaddus, who was pretty good last year and hopefully continues to improve. Eric mentioned Tyler Smith. Even Steele, right? Like, how does he come back from the injury? But if he continues to improve like he has year to year, he's already one of the best run blockers in the sport. But if he can figure out as a pass protecting right tackle, you've got three pretty good young offensive linemen there. Then it's just, okay, when Zach Martin decides to retire, we got to figure out the guard spots.
Yeah, I think, both of you guys are on it. I think the line's deteriorating a little bit more. Like 23rd in yards per attempt last year was a red flag to me. I really like Chief's point, though. As long as you draft well, you can cruise through salary cap hell and still field competitive teams. And if it lines up where you're in good cap space and you're drafting well, that's when you see teams really make a push for a championship. Most often, there's different templates, but the Saints built a hell of a team like that.
100%. And if you have like a home run draft like the Saints did, where you crush it on your first, your second, and then you get like their fifth round pick, Marcus Williams ended up being a stud for them at safety. But for the Cowboys, I think that's also some of what frustrates the fan base, right? Because you're right, how they just keep replenishing with the draft, but they're good. Are they elite contenders? No, because they don't go ahead and get the free agents or the over-the-top type of move.
What do you think? Have they really been contenders? They can't get out of the divisional round. I go back to shortly after you left, Brian. The Parcells era was the last time it seemed like they were nasty on both sides of the line of scrimmage enough to say, oh, this team's going to push people around no matter who has the ball. And then that continued through 2009 with Wade Phillips when you had Spencer and D. Ware and Brady James and Keith Brooking, Terrence Newman, Mike Jenkins, good defense. And that offensive line with Gerard and the Hotel and Colombo, those guys were still there. And that ended in 2010 when they let Flozell and Colombo go. So I don't know if they've gotten back. Now, they were still snake bit then, so was that bad luck? Or, I think it was the best roster we've seen in 15 years when we reflect on it, unless that offensive line now can keep Tyron healthy and Zach Martin at an all-pro level.
I think the thing that'll be key for them going forward is, can they get something out of Waletzko, and can they get something out of Awesome Richards? Because it might be a situation at right tackle that they might just let Steele walk.
After this year?
After this year. I'm just, again, I'm not saying I know anything concrete, but it might be a point in time where they just don't, they said we can't pay them all. And
that's a luxury.
And that's a luxury.
Tackle like Steele.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe they feel like that Awesome Richards can develop into that guy, or Matt Waletzko can. And, a lot will be what happens. Like I say, the whole thing with Tyron Smith, I could kind of see that being a 1-year thing. But they realize, talking to them about having to sign Parsons, they realize that's about to be a really expensive ticket. They understand that. That might be one of those things where they talk about it, in a way of that hey, this is like a quarterback that we're dealing with here.
So one of these young offensive linemen steps up. These draft picks, I mean, if Schoonmaker's a beast at tight end and Mozzie Smith is shutting down the run, you could see this team get tougher and more physical at the line of scrimmage. Those things are just tough to predict at this point in their development.
Well, like I say, Mozzie Smith might be just a 2-down player.
Mm-hmm.
That's something. But if he's
you're like dominant as a 2-down player,
if you're dominant as a 2-down player like Hankins has been, then that was absolutely worth the pick for them.
Okay, we continue the C note here. Cowboys news of the evening. I believe Wolchuk has where they are amongst the most complete roster. The ESPN did the rankings, right?
Yeah, and ESPN did their top 10 most complete rosters in all of the National Football League. Cowboys are at number 5, the 5th most complete roster in the NFL. Number 1 ended up being the Philadelphia Eagles. And you also had the Chiefs in there at number 2. The Niners were 3. The Bengals are 4. Cowboys are 5. They're actually ahead of the Bills at 6. Out of all those teams, do you think that they've kind of got them correct? Because, I mean, as we're talking about like the Cowboys and team building, one thing that they've never been able to have at the same time, and I love Voch Lombardi's analogy to this, like the peanut butter and the jelly. They'll have peanut butter, the jelly never comes around. We even saw it last year. Defense is a top 3 defense in all of the NFL. They're carrying them with Cooper Rush. All of a sudden, Dak comes back. Now you start having some leaks right on the defensive side. Van Der Esch gets hurt. You have an Anthony Brown go down. You have a revolving door at that second corner spot. Teams are just picking over there. You start being not as good defensively. They've never had both sides of the football really take flight at the same time. This year, I do think the way that they've gone ahead and just continued to make the defensive strength, they bring in Brandon Cooks. Hopefully they can stay healthy, but they do seem like the most complete team they've had in recent memory.
It's good roster. I think that what prevents them from getting into the top 3 or even number 1 is they want to make the playoffs every year. And the harder you go for it with your cap management, the longer you have to be out of the playoffs. Rams might not be back for a while. Tampa might not be back for a while. The contenders, when they move in, they cost themselves the future. And I don't think the Cowboys are willing to do that. I think they're trying to make the playoffs every year. And we're kind of in this place where, like, yeah, they're a contender, but not close enough to be the favorite to, win a couple of playoff games.
So they have the either or of the peanut butter and the jelly. If you're only going to have one, though, we'd all agree that you'd rather have the peanut butter than the jelly, or would we disagree with that? I think it's like initially you go like if I could only have one, I'd go peanut butter because there's a versatility factor there with the peanut butter. But jelly is so special in and of itself.
I love jelly, but I've never just had a jelly sandwich.
Right, but I mean
jelly toast.
Thank you, but jelly.
Yeah,
it's
jelly,
funny that we
usually
don't do
I'm
that.
doing butter and jelly.
That's fine.
Right,
You still have butter.
You just can't put peanut butter.
You just don't have peanut butter.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're just
okay.
going specifically with the peanut butter and with the jelly.
I think I'd go peanut butter though if I had to pick.
And that's not a bad
Yeah.
take. That's initially where I went, and then I started thinking about how delicious jelly actually
there's
is.
different
though.
flavors of jelly.
Right. There's a ton of different flavors of jelly, but like the peanut butter you're putting in, you're eating with fruit at times, right? Like that takes
Yeah, I can add some
to the
banana,
next level.
chocolate.
You throw it into a smoothie. You're not
just
putting
take a scoop
jelly
of
in a
it.
smoothie.
Just
Just
get
take
a
a scoop of
tablespoon
it.
out. Yeah.
100%.
Great
it's
snack.
Satiating.
Yeah, it's terrific. I love crunchy. I don't think I can choose those. Chief, you're on your game today. You presented
That's a tough one?
question. Yeah.
Wow,
You have
dude.
you have a better
Steiny.
chance of long-term survival just eating peanut butter as opposed to jelly,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Good
For
proteins
sure.
in it.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Especially
Yeah.
if you get a healthy one. One of those
Yeah.
organic ones that's kind of oily when you open it.
Oh my gosh!
Love it
Yeah,
when
there's
it's
like a
oily.
good inch of that oil in there. You got to mix it all up. Oh, it's a good
that's heaven
vibe
right there.
Yeah.
My super wholesome friend used to have that. We'd go over to his house and his mom would make these peanut butter and jellies that were like all organic and the bread was different. And then for the side, instead of chips, it would be little red tomatoes and celery. And I was like, "Oh, Mom, please come pick me up."
And it was like super wholesome code for hippie. I mean, is that what we're doing here?
This is a
weren't
crunchy
hippies.
mom.
They were
they were
of the
crunchy
earth.
peanut butter.
Yeah,
There's a
they
lot
were-
of people that eat peanut butter and celery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Healthy
that do
snack.
that.
Healthy snack, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, elsewhere in the C-Note, Bleacher Report did an OTA version of breakout players around the NFL, and for the Cowboys to go with Sam Williams, 4 sacks in a very limited role last year. I think it could be him. You know, he still has Dorrance Armstrong and Fowler ahead of him, but I think his talent is so insane that he might blow past those guys and
He's
be
gonna be-
like on Tank's heels before we know
He's
it.
going to be the starter. He's going to
Wow.
be the starter at right end. Just
Really?
breakout, sure.
Wow.
I mean, I know last year I was talking about
Dorrance.
but this kid, they will figure out a way to get him on the field more.
They should.
So
If
it'll
the-
be
if
him
the-
and Tank as the starting edges.
That would be my
and
preseason.
Micah's just the chess piece, front 7, whatever
Sure,
guy.
and you could kick Lawrence inside if you want him to play that.
What's
nickel.
up with Dorrance? Something happened there?
No,
It's just Sam Williams is a freak show monster alien.
They can't. If the only thing that could stop Sam Williams is a lack of maturity.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that could
Yeah,
stop
like a
him.
mid-season car accident or something.
Oh, yeah, knock on wood for that bad boy. Landry
You
Hadget,
had to say that.
Well, that actually happened.
That actually happened.
It did happen the day he bought the car,
wrecked his
too.
car in
Yeah.
the season last year.
his body slam of that dude, though. I mean, he
Oh
made so
my
many
gosh.
plays that were just like,
Hulk smash.
let's
He's a
harness
better
this.
pass rusher than Dorrance right now, absolutely. Dorrance
Yeah.
is a pretty complete player, though. I mean, he came up in some big moments for him last year. There were some times I thought Armstrong was their best defender.
And then, hey, Todd.
Damn,
That's a lot.
That's a scorcher.
Yeah.
I had to cover my eyebrows when you give takes
Against
like that.
Washington last year on the
Cinched
road,
it.
I think Armstrong played the best.
He had some good games.
It was their best pass rusher or best overall defender.
I think
I
he's
thought,
an overall
I thought he
player.
was their best defensive player in that game.
Scout Zach throwing heat, Brian. Is that ridiculous take to you?
No, I mean, trust me.
That was badass what just happened
You
there.
didn't slap
that
him
caught
down?
us all off
No,
guard.
You just
I-
slap
the-
down this young
No,
grasshopper?
no. I was just curious if that was for the whole year or if it's just for that
No,
one
of course
game.
not. You have
Curious
Micah
if Walter was
Parsons.
being serious when he said that kind of thing.
Well,
But
Yes, but-
against Washington on the road, when nobody really had a good game,
were
I thought
bad.
the
They were
one,
bad
the one
def-
guy that
yeah.
you could look at and say this guy showed up
Yeah.
was Dorrance Armstrong.
Yeah, that's fair.